But after d4, e5 once again, really putting the pressure on the centre, as e takes d5 is an immediate threat. Now here white has probably three options. E takes d5 is probably the most natural move and what we'll look at as the main line. Knight takes d5 is quite interesting, and this has been played in this position and in very similar positions by very strong players. Particularly Recursive and Molten Thinker have played this quite often. I like the move a5. Basically white's idea is, with this knight takes d5, first of all to weaken this diagonal, the a2 to g8 diagonal, and to play c3, maybe queen b3. If that doesn't work, their backup plan is to play d5 and answer bishop b6 with c4, c5, so to smash open this d file. And this move does quite well at countering both plans, as now c3 is answered by a4. Again, a thematic idea blocking in that queen. And d5, bishop d6, c4. Black now has a really strong tactical move, knight c6. Really looking at these weak squares. Of course, this knight is can't be taken as it's pinned against the queen, and taking it the other way is again suicidal because of bishop b4 check. King e2, and now have a bishop a6, maybe queen h4. Black has a choice of ways to win here. So there's nothing white can do to remove this knight, and just has to maybe put up with it once it plonks itself in on b4 or d4. White can try and improve maybe slightly on playing c4 first before d5, but even here, I mean, black has various options, all look quite interesting. Even knight c6 is probably still interesting here. Bishop d6, maybe c5. Certainly with this many options, this position isn't very critical for black. It's getting his fair share of the play. D takes c5 seems quite counterintuitive, as it's weakening the g1 to a7 diagonal at the cost of a tempo as well. But with the knight on c3, this pressure on d5 means that the e5 push is possible, which makes this quite an interesting move. For example, if we just play one natural move, bishop e7, black can get into quite a lot of trouble here after e5. Maybe bishop e6, g3 to stop bishop h4. Well, not stop it, but save a tempo. Knight g5, and now knight e4. This really shows the strength of this idea, as black's in a lot of trouble here. A better move is c6. And black has his own tactical ideas. As I mentioned, this diagonal is weak. And one game I had when my opponent played g3, which allowed me to really smash open the position with bishop c5. After knight takes b5, as otherwise the bishop was coming in here. Bishop g4, forcing f3, now queen b6, and there's no defence against this queen invasion, so my opponent resigned here. If bishop e3, then simply bishop takes f3, now queen d4, d takes e4, and now white's run out of defensive moves. Better move than g3 is the natural e5. But here, I think bishop c5 even here gets black lots of play for the pawn that white can grab on b5. For example, after knight takes b5, bishop g4, f3, bishop f5. It's really dangerous here for white. The natural move to defend this against his bishop would be bishop d3, but then queen b6, again looking at the weakness on this diagonal. Black's got a lot of compensation. He's doing quite well in my opinion. So e takes d5, we'll take this as the main line. And here, to my eyes, the most natural move, and before I really sat down and analysed the position, was actually the move I played whenever this position came up, which is bishop d6. However, when analysing one of my games that I played as white against Recursive, I found quite a dangerous move, well not a dangerous move, a dangerous line for white, which I think really puts a question mark over this move, and that's bishop g5. Now knight f6, knight d5 is too strong, because this knight can't be taken due to queen bit d5, and bishop takes f6 with a win for white. Taking the bishop is just allows white to get this very powerful knight in the position. Can't be good for black. So f6 is pretty much forced. Now knight d5 anyway. E takes d5 just simply gets answered with queen d5. I think my opponent decided to play bishop g4 first, and then e takes d4. Now queen d5, bishop e6. But now the killing move here really is castle's queenside. And white has just so many threats in this position. Bishop takes f6 is a threat. Queen c6, as this queen can't be taken because of rook takes d8, winning. So I just don't see a defence here for black. For example, c6, this can still be taken, and the queen's defended because of this explosion on d8. So I can't recommend this bishop d6 move, as this line does seem quite forcing. Instead of bishop d6, I quite like this move, c6. This is just to take this d5 square under control, and then the idea of following up with bishop d6 after maybe a neutral move from white, such as g3. A useful move in these types of positions to facilitate the d5 push by taking this h4 square under control. Bishop d6. We've got both sides have good chances in this position. It's an interesting game. White has his own chances to go wrong, of course. The d5 push, queen h4, winning a piece for black, and knight e4, simply losing a pawn to bishop g4. So a4 is probably the most aggressive try if white doesn't want to continue his manoeuvring game with g3. And some of these lines with a4 can get very tactical. Bishop d6 is a natural move. Black can get into trouble if he tries to get a bit more aggressive with b4, because knight b5, and white's getting a very strong attack here. Just to demonstrate the lines, if taking then bishop c4, winning for white, as a bishop e6 can be answered by queen h5. So you, well, a crushing intermezzo there, as now d takes e5 is possible with a win. And bishop g4 to stop this idea before taking now allows white to play knight g5, again with a winning position. So bishop d6. Now white has a couple of options. Black is just going to get good play if white tries to grab material over here, as we'll see. Bishop g5 is possibly the best move. f6, a takes b5. This is what white will play, maybe if he's really going for the throat, but he can get into a lot of trouble, as I mentioned. H takes g5, and these, although white is up for material, 2 pawns for a piece, these 2 bishops are just so strong, and black's got threats like queen a5 check, and swinging across. I'm sure there are some very nice tactical ideas here for black. Taking on b5 first will be similar. I mean, he takes d4, taking this bishop. Now rook takes a7 is impossible because of queen h4. And now black's even up material, and he's still got this really powerful attack going on. Knight g5 is possible. Blocking this queen in before playing rook takes a7. However, still black's going to get fantastic play. Bishop f5, hitting c2. It's quite hard to see how white can play really. Bishop e2, sorry, queen e2, bishop e4. This bishop's threatening to come to c5 now. Queen's coming out to a5. After bishop g5, black can transpose to a line we looked at earlier with f6, which continued rook takes a7, h takes g5, or you can even go for h takes g5, quite a bit more tactical, but again black's just getting good play in all lines. Both these knight jumps, or rook takes a7 again is losing. Queen a5 check, b4, bishop g3, really strong move. With the win for black. So maybe knight f7, queen a5 check, giving away the queen. Now maybe bishop c5, getting some good attack here. Even rook h4 looks very nice. Defending against rook e4. Black's got a very strong attack now. Maybe just one more fun line to demonstrate black's attack. Queen e7. Rook takes a7's now impossible because of bishop g3. Very nice tactic. Queen b4. Coming to e4. Queen g4 is probably a better move. Well, it is definitely a better move. G coming into g6. g5 to prevent that, following up with f5. Rook takes a7 is still impossible because of queen a7. And after blocking on d4, what black will come down to a1. So okay, that's about it from 2e4. You'll see black has two pretty good options. e6 is less things that black needs to know, but a little bit more cramped, although solid position. d5 I feel is probably the best move. Really giving it back to white, giving as good as he gets. Positions are generally interesting, and it's quite hard to really analyse them out like we did in the last video with 2 knights e3. You've just positions you've really got to have a feel for, and experience helps you with that. So okay, the next video will be on the move 2e3, the main line in this variation. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you come back for the next video.